He was the American Generalissimo,
General
the
Smith,
figure of absolute duty who commanded the
house.
globe during
Ready.
WWII and strategically sacrificed his personal life for his country, fathering no children of his own. But the devastating, untold story is how George C. Marshall's closest family, his 3 stepchildren, were thrust onto the world stage, culminating in a personal tragedy that forced the great strategist to endure the ultimate pain of wartime loss. So what truly became of the 3 stepchildren who inherited the general's name and saw the true cost of global war from the inside? Welcome. You clicked on this video because you know the strategic genius who defined victory and peace. But you sense the real, human drama lies with the family he chose. In this exhaustive, deeply researched documentary, we will tell the complete, multi-layered story of George C. Marshall's 3 stepchildren. We will explore the path of the daughter, Molly Brown Winn, who became the quiet, steadfast stabilizer of the Marshall household during the war years. We will delve into the unique, tragic sacrifice of the son, Clifton S. Brown Jr., who died in action in WWII, a loss that Marshall carried with silent agony. And finally, we will examine the life of the second son, Allen B. Brown, who chose a life of quiet civilian success, and his role in preserving the Marshall integrity. To bring you this powerful story, we have gone far beyond the military records and the Marshall Plan documents. We have meticulously researched Marshall's own candid letters to his wife, analyzed the specific military sacrifice, and pieced together the narrative of duty, loss, and the immense pressure of remaining stoic while commanding the fate of the free world. Number 3. The eldest daughter, the stabilizer, Molly Brown Winn. The story of the Marshall family begins with the stepdaughter who became Marshall's primary female family link. She witnessed his command and became the quiet, steadfast guardian of his later life and legacy, dedicating her immense energy to providing him with the normalcy he desperately craved. Born in 1912, Molly Brown was already a young woman when her mother, Catherine Tupper Brown, married Colonel George C. Marshall in 1930. Molly and her siblings were immediately embraced by Marshall, who, having been childless in his first marriage, threw himself into the role of devoted stepfather. Molly's early life was marked by the slow, steady rise of her new father. Witnessing his transition from colonel to general, and later, the immense pressure of his appointment as chief of staff in 1939. Molly's primary role during the war years, 1939-1945, was that of the family's stabilizer, as Marshall was consumed by the task of managing and coordinating the entire U.S. war effort, a job that often had him working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. Molly and her mother, Catherine, managed the social and domestic front. Molly hosted foreign dignitaries, attended official functions, and provided Marshall with the quiet, orderly home life he needed to withstand the immense psychological pressure of commanding the globe. She became a crucial buffer between the general and the demands of the outside world. After the war and Marshall's retirement from military duty, Molly continued her role as a dedicated family anchor. She married Colonel James J. Winn. Her life path was one of non-public, dedicated service. She did not seek elected office or celebrity fame. Instead, she focused on community work and, significantly, the preservation of her stepfather's name. Molly was instrumental in the establishment and growth of the George C. Marshall Foundation in Lexington, Virginia. She served on its board and dedicated countless hours to ensuring her stepfather's immense legacy. His papers, his humanitarian work, the Marshall Plan, and his reputation for integrity were preserved and promoted for historical scholarship. Her devotion extended to defending his memory against critics and ensuring that his role was presented accurately. Her scandals are non-existent. The challenge she faced was the immense pressure of living up to the standards of the most disciplined man in America, and her ability to successfully provide him with the essential, quiet domestic life he craved. The untold story of Molly Brown Winn is her profound role as the chosen daughter who became the anchor of stability, the quiet, steadfast guardian of the Marshall myth. She passed away in 1993. Number 2. The stepdaughter's sacrifice, Clifton S. Brown Jeter. Molly provided Marshall with quiet strength and managed his domestic needs. But the next child, Clifton, would embody the ultimate act of military duty, a sacrifice that personally devastated the chief of staff, the stepson who was a pilot, the one Marshall loved deeply. His decision to serve in World War II was a direct fulfillment of the general's code of duty, a commitment that led to his tragic, premature death in action, forcing the chief of staff to endure the ultimate personal cost of the war he commanded. Born in the early 1910s, Clifton S. Brown Jr. was embraced by Marshall upon the 1930 marriage. Clifton quickly developed a strong bond with his stepfather, sharing his military background and sense of honor. He attended the Virginia Military Institute, VMI, Marshall's own alma mater, a clear sign of his respect and commitment to the family's traditions. With the outbreak of World War II, Clifton, then serving as a pilot in the U.S. Army Air Forces, USAAF, insisted on active duty, a decision Marshall, as a man of absolute duty, could not oppose despite his position. Clifton was deployed to the European theater, flying fighter and bomber support missions. The tragedy struck on September 15, 1944. Clifton S. Brown Jr. was killed in action over Italy, shot down during a critical phase of the war. His death was not just a private sorrow. It was an earth-shattering event for George C. Marshall. As Army Chief of Staff, Marshall was responsible for sending hundreds of thousands of young men to their deaths every week. He knew the casualty reports. But now, the casualty was his own chosen son. The immense psychological pressure on Marshall was unprecedented. He knew that any public display of personal grief could demoralize the troops or be perceived as a weakness by the enemy. He forced himself to maintain his renowned stoicism, concealing his profound personal devastation behind his famous rigid control. He never publicly discussed the loss, enduring the sorrow in silent agony. Clifton's death was the ultimate personal cost Marshall paid for the war's success. Clifton's scandal is non-existent. His life was a testament to patriotism and bravery. The untold story of Clifton Brown Jr. is his symbolic role as the Chief of Staff's sacrifice. His death cemented Marshall's reputation for absolute, selfless dedication to the war effort, proving that the general demanded no less sacrifice from his own family than he did from the nation's troops. He remains the most poignant figure in the Marshall legacy, the son who paid the ultimate price for the war Marshall commanded. Number 1. The quiet civilian and the unifying burden. Allen B. Brown Clifton paid the ultimate price for the war Marshall commanded. The final member of the family, Allen B. Brown, would choose a quieter path, fulfilling his duty by ensuring the integrity of his stepfather's name endured. The second son, Allen B. Brown, born in 1917, was a vital part of the Marshall household, though his life was less publicly defined than his siblings. He too was embraced by Marshall in 1930 and shared the military upbringing. Allen served honorably in the military during World War II, surviving the conflict and returning home to a family forever marked by the loss of his brother, Clifton. Allen's professional life became dedicated to stability and business outside the military. He was successful in civilian endeavors, maintaining a quiet, private life that represented the normalcy his parents often sacrificed. He chose a career that was professionally competent, free from the political limelight. Allen B. Brown's most profound contribution was his unwavering support for the George C. Marshall Foundation and the preservation of his stepfather's public integrity. He worked alongside his sister Molly to ensure that the record of Marshall's immense achievements and his unique moral character endured. He was the quiet civilian success, the third pillar of resilience. The family's great, unifying burden was the profound secrecy required to protect Marshall's position. The private grief over Clifton's death had to be endured in silence. This emotional suppression took a toll on all three stepchildren, but they transformed their personal sacrifice and hidden sorrow into a collective global legacy of duty and honor. They survived the personal sacrifices and ensured that the world would remember George C. Marshall not just as the planner of victory, but as the disciplined and humanitarian Generalissimo who placed duty above all else, even his own family's profound grief. The Marshall family successfully transformed their personal loss into a global legacy of duty and honor. Their story of command and immense duty stands in sharp contrast to the silent hardships faced by the family of another great American figure whose life was also defined by immense public expectation and profound personal tragedy. That figure defined the glamour and the darkness of American political royalty, John F. Kennedy. On this channel previously, we explored the fascinating and tragic story of John F. Kennedy's 3 grandchildren. Like the Marshall family, they had to navigate immense tragedy and the immense burden of the Kennedy name, the shadow of Camelot, and the pressure to find their own destiny in the modern world. The full, complex, and tragic story of the Kennedy heirs is one you won't want to miss. Click the video on your screen right now to uncover that incredible, untold story. And as always, thank you for watching.